Craig, you're next.
On August 19th, 2016, Drake Tester, the 16-year-old son of treasure hunter Craig Tester, joined other members of the Oak Island team in writing an inscription on a 50-inch wide drilling caisson that everyone hoped would help them locate the original money pit. In so doing, he made a permanent reminder of one of the island's most enduring and powerful truths. That the story of Oak Island is, as it has been for more than 2 centuries, a story about family. From the Laginas.
But here's the thing, I'm still in. Let's go.
One in, all in. What's in for everyone?
To the Blankenships.
Mom would be happy getting it over with. She wanted it done.
I don't have a reputation for giving up.
Oak Island has been a place where the compelling desire to solve a mystery has lured generations of treasure hunters. From former slaves.
Just being a cabbage farmer could never have given him enough money to purchase the property that he bought.
To future U.S. presidents.
FDR was adventurous. Who wouldn't want to search for a hidden treasure?
Families who came looking for a dream and who rarely leave willingly, if they ever leave at all.
It grabs hold like an addiction that doesn't let go.
Whoa!
We are part of the island, and the island is part of us.
According to legend, it was on a hot summer night in June 1795 that 3 teenage boys, Daniel McGinnis, John Smith, and Anthony Vaughn, traveled to Oak Island in a rowboat.
They discovered an old oak tree with a block and tackle hanging off one of the limbs, and under the block and tackle was a depression on the ground.
They started to dig, and then they quickly realized that they dug down to a man-made shaft.
At a depth of 10 feet, they found a layer of tightly packed oak logs embedded in clay. They found another layer of logs at a depth of 20 feet, then 30, when it became obvious to them that they were digging into something much more complex than a simple pirate's treasure haul. Over the next few years, the young men formed what was called the Onslow Company. They continued digging until, at a depth of 90 feet, they found a large, flat, gray-green stone on which are carved a number of strange, almost hieroglyphic shapes.
After the 90-foot stone was recovered, eventually the pit flooded and digging stopped for the time being.
Although it is widely believed that McGinnis, Vaughn, and Smith never found so much as a glint of treasure, there are those who believe that a portion of it was, in fact, recovered very early on, and that this only fueled the trio's determination to keep digging.
I believe that my ancestors did find some of the treasure. There was a family story passed down that Anthony Vaughn and some of the other landowners on the island, they discovered a decoy treasure. They kept it secret because they didn't want the other hunters to find it. But family lore says that Daniel sold his property and moved away and developed a huge shipbuilding empire in New Brunswick.
Anthony Vaughn Sr.'s 2 brothers suddenly were running the biggest lumber mill in that part of Nova Scotia at the time and became very wealthy men. And so the question is, where did they get the money to launch this enterprise? A lot of people said it came from the money pit.
The idea that a portion of the treasure was found was further reinforced in 2015, when 3 of Daniel McGinnis's descendants returned to Oak Island to share an incredible family secret with the Lagina brothers and their partners.
This is one of the stories we were told as children. Grandpa Daniel, 5 generations ago, he and his 2 friends found 3 treasure chests.
I never heard that.
No, I never heard that either.
Daniel took 1, Smith took 1, and Vaughn took 1. And what is in this box is one of the things that came from that chest.
Really?
The one that McGinnis took.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, I got goosebumps.
Wow. May I?
You may.
Oh my goodness.
It passed down to the McGinnis men. And so my father had it, and when my brother James was 15, my father passed it on to him. And my brother, the night before he died, he said, never let this out of your sight.
Because early accounts of the events on Oak Island are sketchy, it is often difficult for the historian to separate fact from fiction. One area of confusion even extends to the identities and ages of the original discoverers of the Money Pit. There are those who believe that there was a 4th person involved in the dig, a former American slave by the name of Samuel Ball.
Samuel Ball is our great-great-grandfather. Our mother, Maylis Boyd, would recount stories of a relative living on Oak Island. And she would say to me, this is our people's land. And that had just stayed with me for the rest of my life.
The extraordinary story of Samuel Ball begins in 1776. When at just 11 years old, he escaped the South Carolina plantation where he had been a slave and made his way north.
During the American War of Independence, the British governor of Virginia, the Earl of Dunmore, issued a proclamation granting freedom to any male slave who would fight on the British side, and thousands did. And one of these individuals was Samuel Ball.
So Samuel Ball, he ended up in New Jersey until the war ended, at which time he made his way to Canada.
The Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, Sir George Provost, decided, because of his assertiveness, to give him some lands.
They put him on Oak Island, and that's where his life actually started here in Nova Scotia. Samuel Ball did purchase land on Oak Island with 8 pounds of sterling silver. So tilling the land, maybe he did find some coins or some silver and started purchasing land there.
Samuel Ball bought his first lot on Oak Island in 1787. And he quickly bought the lot next to it. So before the discovery of the Money Pit, Samuel Ball actually owned 2 lots on Oak Island.
In 1870, Nova Scotia historian Mather Byles de Brisay published A History of the County of Lunenburg, one of the first detailed accounts of the search for treasure on Oak Island. According to de Brisay, it was Samuel Ball and not John Smith who was one of the first discoverers of the Money Pit. But if so, why was the account later changed? Was it because Samuel Ball, who would have been 30 years old at the time, lived on the island and didn't want anyone to know that he was also involved in the search for the Oak Island treasure? According to published accounts, Samuel Ball worked as a cabbage farmer and lived on Oak Island with his wife Mary and their 3 children. By the time of his death in 1846, at the age of 81, he was one of the wealthiest men in Nova Scotia.
Just being a cabbage farmer could never have given him enough money to purchase the property that he bought.
I think you found something on Oak Island. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
All the family knows of the story of Sam. It just gives us so much pride and feeling of understanding a little bit more of the legacy that he's left for our family.
In 1861, the Oak Island Association was formed, and within months, experienced the island's first fatal tragedy, when the boiler from a steam-powered water pump exploded and scalded an unknown worker to death. Rumors of a curse began to circulate, which inspired a Halifax newspaper to run a story about the treasure hunt in 1864.
In The Colonist, there was published a 3-part story that gave the full history of the hunt up until that time on Oak Island. Up until that time, it was a very secretive operation.
For the next few decades, work on the island continued, but without much success. It wasn't until 1893, with the formation of the Oak Island Treasure Company by Frederick Blair, that Oak Island would enjoy its most active and productive period since the discovery of the Money Pit nearly 100 years earlier.
They invested a lot of money at a time when there wasn't a lot of money around. And one of those investors was William Chappell.
Chappell was an investor, but he was also a skilled drill operator.
The Chappell family actually goes back to France. My great-grandfather, William Chappell, settled in Nova Scotia and became the lumber baron of Canada.
A skilled drill operator, William Chappell would leave a long and lasting legacy on Oak Island. He spent decades trying to solve the mystery, often aided in that task by his son Mel, also known as MR. It was William Chappell who in 1897 discovered traces of gold along with a small fragment of parchment after drilling into what he believed to be a mysterious 7-foot deep wooden box lying at a depth of 153 feet.
They put that bit down and they brought it up, and there was this one very curious object that no one could identify. It was this little ball of something.
But when they had opened this paper up, they saw what appears to be the letters V and I. And, you know, it was of great wonderment to them what paper would be doing down under Oak Island at that depth.
M.R. Chappell is actually there when his father drills through this thing. Here's a perfect example how somebody can become so obsessed with Oak Island.
That made such an impression on him and what was brought up. A little piece of parchment seems to have been very, very significant to my grandfather.
Dubbed the Chappell Vault, the box was thought to be the very object that was originally buried at the bottom of the Money Pit more than a century before. But what was inside? Rumors of a curse were also refueled when during an excavation of the Money Pit, a hoisting rope slipped off a pulley, causing one of Frederick Blair's workers, Maynard Kaiser, to fall 100 feet down the shaft to his death. For months, Blair and Chappell tried every possible method to reach the mysterious wooden box, but without success. William Chappell's son, M.R., would devote the rest of his life to finding someone who could help him retrieve it. One of those men was Captain Henry L. Bowden, a mining engineer who in 1909 convinced Frederick Blair and the Chappells that he could reach the Chappell Vault. Bowden's own research had convinced him that what lay at the bottom of the Money Pit wasn't pirate treasure, but the lost crown jewels of Queen Marie Antoinette of France. And he was joined in this belief by a 27-year-old man who worked with him on the island that summer, Franklin D. Roosevelt.
I'm a grandson of Franklin D. Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt. FDR was adventurous, to say the least, and certainly he was influenced by his grandfather, Warren Delano. He was very much an adventuresome man himself. He would have mentioned the treasure on Oak Island to FDR. And as a young man, who wouldn't want to search for a hidden treasure?
FDR's grandfather, Warren Delano Jr., was one of the wealthiest men in the world, having made his fortune by smuggling opium from China to the United States. Warren Delano became an investor in the Truro Company, and his belief in the island and its treasure fueled the imagination of his grandson.
FDR, he had no money of his own. His mother had money from her side of the family, so the way for him to escape his mother's purse strings, if you will, would be to find his own treasure.
In 1911, Henry L. Bowdoin ceased operations on Oak Island. But for Franklin Roosevelt, Oak Island represented a dream that he never really abandoned, even after he became the President of the United States.
FDR continued his interest well into the 30s and 40s when he was president.
I hold here in my hands a letter. It's on White House stationery dated August 31st, 1938. It says, "Dear Mr. Hamilton, your note came while I was on my cruise in the Pacific. I wish much I could have gone up the coast this summer and visited Oak Island and see the work you are doing, for I shall always be interested in that romantic spot."
Unfortunately, Roosevelt's passion for what he called that romantic spot ended with his death from a cerebral hemorrhage in 1945. But for M.R. Chappell, who, like Roosevelt, was a fellow Freemason, the search for treasure on Oak Island was about to enter a whole new phase.
What makes sense to me is the theory that links it to the Knights Templar, because the Masons derived from the Knights Templar. My grandfather became a Grand Master of the Masons, so I could see that as being a real interest of his.
By 1957, M.R. Chappell was now too old to undertake the hard work himself. To that end, he began negotiations with a former daredevil turned treasure hunter, a man determined to solve the Oak Island mystery at all costs, a man named Robert Restall. In April of 1939, Popular Science magazine featured a story that suggested the treasure of Captain Kidd might be buried on Oak Island. The article fired the imagination of a man who believed that taking chances was what made life worth living, Robert Restall.
Robert was a daredevil. He was already working with carnivals doing various stunts, often on motorcycles.
At the time, Restall and his wife, Mildred, had become famous throughout Europe and North America as stunt motorcycle performers.
There was a steel globe, and Mom would ride horizontally in the globe, and Dad would join her, and then he would loop. And so they were going at cross purposes. And they were the first to do a double act in a globe of death.
But by the early 1950s, the couple had moved to Ontario, Canada, where Robert found work in a steel plant. And Mildred was busy raising the couple's 3 children, Lee, Bobby Jr., and Rick.
And he was a very, very intelligent man. He could fabricate things, build things. If something broke down, he could fix it. He was a mechanical genius, basically.
But Robert Restall yearned for his prior life of adventure. He wanted a future. He wanted Oak Island.
Around 1955, Robert came home one day and announced that instead of going back to work at the steel plant, he was going to go treasure hunting on Oak Island.
He got every single available document, book, you name it, maps, charts, and studied Oak Island. It was his passion.
I saw them at the door, and they had all their stuff packed, and they said, "We're going to Oak Island," and I was completely flabbergasted.
On October 15th, 1959, Robert Restall arrived on Oak Island with $8,000 worth of equipment and his wife and 2 sons in tow. Robert had convinced M.R. Chappell that he alone could solve the mystery and unearth the treasure, and that he could do it within a year.
He knew what the others had done and where they had fallen short. Sometimes fortunes were wasted because they didn't listen to the working men who'd been on the last project. But Dad was going to take everything just the one step further, and he really believed he could do it in about 3 months.
For the first few months, life for the Restalls was primitive. There was no running water, no electricity. Because everything from the mainland had to be gotten by boat, a simple trip to the grocery store could take the better part of an entire day.
Well, living conditions were extremely primitive, but also wild and kind of novel. I mean, I was living in a cabin on the beach with my brother. My parents were living in a cabin by the money pit on the top of the hill.
But if life was tough for the Restalls, it was perhaps toughest for Bobby Jr. He was 18 years old when he arrived on the island, an age when most of his peers were going to school dances and dreaming of a future. Instead, Bobby stuck by his father's side, helping with the hard work and keeping track of nearly every day's progress, or lack of it, in a meticulously kept series of journals.
Wednesday, September 28th, 1960. Dad cleared off beach and found drilled rock at low tide line, about 4 feet from dock. Tuesday, June 6, 1961. Worked in hole. Found it to be about 18 inches across and possibly lined with stones, about 5 feet down.
When I first saw Bobby's journals, I was astonished that he had been so diligent right to the bitter end. He kept that journal. I think that this is a huge legacy for my family to leave. I think that it's amazing work.
But as weeks stretched to months, and months into years, life for the Restalls became unbearable.
It was hard for the men because very physical and very demanding work, and there was no rest really until you fell asleep. My mother worked quite hard, and I was tired of living in rubber boots.
What Robert Restall promised his family would be an adventure turned into years of struggle and back-breakingly hard work.
The length of the adventure was the problem in the end for both her and myself. It just never seemed to end.
By 1965, Robert Restall had invested 5 years of his life and the lives of his family on a dream that had turned into an obsession. Because he never owned land on the property, he was constantly under pressure to produce results or to leave empty-handed. As far as he was concerned, the treasure needed to be found, and time was running out.
It's very easy to become obsessed here. Robert absolutely believed that he was close to solving this.
So I feel that the treasure is here and that we can get it, and we're going to stay here until we do.
In the summer of 1965, Robert Restall discovered what he believed was one of the original flood tunnels running under Smith's Cove. If the water in the flood tunnel could be diverted to another shaft, access to the money pit would finally be possible. Digging a shaft 27 feet deep, Restall was convinced that he was just days away from finally solving the Oak Island mystery. But unfortunately, Robert Restall's dream of finding a treasure was about to become a nightmare.
On the 17th of August, 1965, Robert had said to his wife, Mildred, I'm going to check the pit on the shore, and then we're going to go into Chester.
Robert walked down to Smith's Cove to take another look at their current work. And while he was looking in the shaft, he tumbled in. Bobby quickly went to his aid.
He used He's like 24 years old at the time. And he immediately clambers down through the ladder, and he's holding his father's head out of the water till he collapses. And then it's just a domino effect. Carl Grazer, he goes down. Cyril Hiltz, who was 16 years old. It's just one right after the other. The only thought is, save the guy that went before me.
By the time I was up in the cabin, and I know it was after lunch, and I was expecting my husband to come up any time. And I waited a few minutes and then went down, and by then it was all over. And that's when I learned that my husband and son and 2 other men were dead.
They had succumbed to some kind of noxious gas that had caused this tragedy.
4 people lost their lives that day. Robert Restall Sr., Bobby Restall, Cyril Hiltz, and Carl Grazer.
At the end of Bobby Restall's meticulous journals, he wrote the date, August 17th, 1965. All that followed were a number of blank pages. It would be a symbol of a life cut tragically short, and the promise of a treasure that he and his father would never find.
You know what? I mean, we can't change this. We can't do anything about it. But I hope perhaps on the end of this book, you and I can fill in here, that we finish.
Yeah, finish the search.
Let's make a promise.
8 months prior to the tragic events of August 17th, the Reader's Digest published a 6-page story about the search for treasure on Oak Island. This modest story fueled the imagination of a man who continues to have a profound effect on the island and its history to this day, Dan Blankenship.
I first read about Oak Island in Reader's Digest in January of '65 when I read the article, and I handed it back to my wife and I said, there's treasure on Oak Island and I'm going to be instrumental in discovering it.
When Dad said, well, I'm going to take a trip up to Nova Scotia. So I said, fine, it's a road trip. I'm 16, 17 years old. It's cool.
Over the next 2 years, Dan would dissolve his successful Florida-based contracting company so that he and his wife Jane could pack up everything they owned and move to Nova Scotia. Although Dan had had a brief meeting with Robert Restall just 1 week prior to the fatal accident, it was Dan's intention to join forces with the next person who was now in charge of the treasure hunt, Robert Dunfield. A geologist from California, Robert Dunfield had been one of Robert Restall's biggest investors.
Dad was continually exploring. Dad would take Mom and I out on exploring excursions, anywhere where Dad thought that there might be something that he could find.
Robert Dunfield's decision to take charge was a way to protect his investment. It was also, he felt, a way to honor the memories of Robert Restall and those who perished with him.
The lives changed through death. That stayed with Dad, but he never would have stopped because he felt that with the continuing of the dig, he was honoring their memory.
After moving to Nova Scotia with his wife Aline, Robert Dunfield was a man on a mission. There were only 6 months remaining on the Restall treasure license, and he knew that if he didn't find the treasure within that time, he might be squeezed out by other would-be investors. Going for broke, Dunfield poured nearly every nickel he had left to bring heavy digging equipment to the island. After first creating a 600-foot causeway, linking the island to the mainland for the first time in its history, he then tackled the money pit head-on. For the next several weeks, he and a team of workers that included James Troutman, Jimmy Kaiser, and Dan Blankenship tried to reach the bottom of the pit by digging an enormous hole, 100 feet wide by an estimated 140 feet deep.
His methodology was big equipment, move a lot of earth, and that's how you get to the treasure. But unfortunately, by doing so, he obliterated a lot of the landmarks in the Money Pit area. Now, had he found the treasure, he'd have been a hero. But that's not the case.
Robert Dunfield left Oak Island exhausted, frustrated, and nearly broke. But his departure would soon pave the way for yet another generation of treasure hunters. Men whose tenure on the island would last for more than half a century. Within 3 months of the departure of Robert Dunfield in August 1966, a new trio of treasure hunters took over the operations on Oak Island. Fred Nolan, David Tobias, and Dan Blankenship.
I thought at the time they were going about it wrong, but they had insisted on just staying in the Money Pit area, you know. But I could see evidence of the fact that people had done work all over the island.
Although David Tobias and Dan Blankenship would later form the Triton Alliance and ultimately gain control over most of the island, Fred Nolan soon emerged as not simply a neighboring landowner, but a fierce competitor. Originally invited to Oak Island by M.R. Chappell as a land surveyor in 1961, Nolan found that 7 of the 4-acre lots were not owned by Chappell and purchased them himself. Nolan's claim on 28 precious acres, including part of the triangle-shaped swamp, sparked a bitter feud that would last for years.
Nolan historically has gone on Mr. Chappell's property, and I didn't object too strenuously at the time, thinking I would at least get copies of what he was doing on Chappell's property. But I found out very quickly you don't get anything like that from Nolan. So, I mean, I found that Mr. Nolan is very deliberately evasive over the many years.
Dan Blankenship, he was a nice guy, but this place seems to get hold of people. People become very possessive. It made it difficult.
For the next 5 decades, Fred Nolan spent thousands of hours scouring the surface of Oak Island for clues that he believed would point to the treasure's ultimate hiding place. In the swamp, he discovered several objects that convinced him that a large wooden ship, possibly a pirate ship, had been buried underneath layers of muck. He also believed that the swamp was man-made, formed by building 2 enormous cofferdams at both the north and south shores of the island, draining them and then filling them up with landfill after the digging at the Money Pit was completed. But perhaps Fred Nolan's biggest breakthrough came in 1981 with the discovery of what he dubbed Nolan's Cross, a curious collection of 6 enormous boulders whose dimensions are thought to represent everything from a Christian cross to the Tree of Life as referenced in ancient Hebrew scriptures.
The boulders forming this cross are very large, and I saw it was a cross. There was no question about that. But what does it mean? You know, I guess it takes you to where one of the treasures is located.
But for all the discoveries claimed on Oak Island by Fred Nolan, they were overshadowed by the discovery made by Dan Blankenship in the early 1970s, after digging what he believed was a backdoor entrance into the fabled Money Pit, 10X.
10X is a shaft that was engineered long ago by Mr. Blankenship. That was the breakup of the Triton Alliance Company. Mr. Tobias wanted to focus on the Money Pit, and Dan constructed 10X.
Dan Blankenship dug 10X without the help of big rigs and drilling caissons. After first excavating a 27-inch wide borehole down to a final depth of 235 feet, Dan, wearing only a simple wetsuit with a surface supply of oxygen, made the first perilous journey downward into what appeared to be a man-made chamber.
There were pictures taken, somewhat subjective, but indicating that there was man-made objects in that cavern. That's a game changer. If there's man-made objects at 235 feet, they were only there because men put them there.
Dan was astonished at what he believed he saw. Evidence of ancient tools, wooden posts, a large square object resembling a treasure chest, even what appeared to be the remains of a dead body. Dan and his team believed they were only a few feet away from entering the money pit and solving the Oak Island mystery. Only one thing stood in their way: money. And to reach their goal, they were going to need a lot of it. When the January issue of Reader's Digest was published in 1965, among the many readers who were captivated by the article on Oak Island was an 11-year-old boy from Michigan's Upper Peninsula, Rick Lagina.
Something grabbed a hold of me, and I took it home and I read it to my brother. I'm 11, he's 8. I mean, it's mystery, treasure. You know, the story of the boys, really, I think that was the key thing. These boys find this mystery, which evolves into this Oak Island story, 200 years of story.
In 2005, after decades of unsuccessful search efforts, Dan Blankenship's business partner, David Tobias, wanted out. As a result, 50% of Oak Island Tours, the company set up by Tobias and Blankenship, was for sale. And there was one man in Michigan who couldn't be more excited: Rick Lagina. In 2006, Rick, his brother Marty, and their Michigan-based partners made a deal that would make them 50% owners in Oak Island Tours. But believe it or not, it was not the Lagina's first attempt to join the treasure hunt. They had tried, without success, some 10 years earlier.
We sat on the other end of the causeway.
Past that bloody causeway. I mean, and there was Oak Island, you know, and I said, okay, well, you go. You know, I said, you go.
And so we're sitting there like, you know, like kids again. I said, just drive. And so we went across. And then we ran into Dan Blankenship. He was cutting trees in the woods, felling trees for David's house. So I get out and I start helping him push down trees, and he didn't say a word, didn't stop the chainsaw, just kept after it. And anyway, so it didn't work out. And Rick was horribly disappointed, I remember.
But now, the Laginas and their partners were finally in business with Dan Blankenship, and the search for treasure on Oak Island was back on. With his brother Marty at his side, Rick Lagina could finally apply his lifetime of research to solving this centuries-old mystery, working with their close friend and business partner Craig Tester, along with friends and family members. The Laginas set out to repair everything, from washed-out roadways to damaged relationships.
So it's time to quit the fighting and cooperate, right?
It hasn't accomplished much. Yeah, I don't want to be an obstacle anymore.
Welcome to the team.
The Laginas and their partners also built a permanent visitor center, which houses an invaluable collection of artifacts and memorabilia related to the search. But amid all of the mysterious artifacts and all the countless theories about what may be buried on Oak Island, one fact is certain: Oak Island is about family.
We're going to put a time capsule in the ground at the Bicentennial Memorial. Kind of wrote a little letter. It's to the people that will open this, and it's to all of us. It says, "Dear Oak Island searchers, we have met so many gracious and wonderful people, it is impossible to acknowledge and thank everyone, though I would try. I especially wish to say to my brother and friend that and I do not use the term lightly, I treasure this time we have spent together. Oh, come on. You end up feeling like you're part of this series of families. An individual first becomes quite enamored of the island, and then because they're part of families, the family gets drawn in.
Oak Island becomes an obsession for families who are part of the island history.
Hi, Rick.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Oak Island managed to wheedle its way into my heart. Oak Island has a very strong pull. Yeah, I remember the path we used to come from the Money Pit area down to Smith's Cove.
It's surprising how small it looks now.
Yeah, everything looks smaller.
My family and I have a great sense of pride being part of the Ball family. This is where it began.
Yeah.
It's just not the treasure, but it's the families' lives that have been involved in this hunt. It's just incredible, eh?
It's almost like the island calls to you. And even after you leave it, you have this longing desire to go back.
There he is. Hey, Daniel.
Anyone that has spent as much time on the island as myself, they would like to be the one that made the breakthrough. But you have to be willing to accept a 17, 18-year-old kid could come in and make a breakthrough. That's life.
Good. Look what it says on that pipe. Dan's breakthrough.
It's transcendent, if you will, because there's this commonality of search.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Of attaining a common goal.
It's a cross.
That's a cross.
That it's easy to feel like they're a part of us and we're a part of them.
There is an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years. So far, they have found a stone slab with strange symbols carved into it, mysterious fragments of human bone, and a lead cross, whose origin may stretch back to the days of the Knights Templar. To date, 6 men have died trying to solve the mystery. And, according to legend, 1 more will have to die before the treasure can be found. With only a few days remaining before they must shut down operations for the year.
So, this is an important war room meeting.
Brothers Rick and Marty Lagina have called a meeting in the war room. They are eager to follow up on what could be one of the most incredible discoveries in the 223-year-old search for treasure on Oak Island.
I think, Alex, we need to dial up your father and Craig.
Get him up.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Marty.
Hey, Marty. Hello. You know of the find that Gary made regarding the brooch and the jewel?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
That was weird. Look at this, Rick. We've got it.
2 days ago, while searching on Lot 8, located near the middle of the island, Rick Lagina and metal detection expert Gary Drayton discovered a curious object.
Look at that.
Oh, man.
Upon further investigation, it appeared they had found an antique brooch. A brooch which featured a large, deep red stone.
Rick, we just found a jewel.
That's gorgeous. Look at how many facets on that.
That is a Bobby Dazzler. Right, you're all sitting down, which is good, because you're in for a shock. I took the jewel, to a certified gemologist in Halifax. And basically that's what the stone was. Because we was all thinking ruby, but the bad news is it's not a ruby. But the good news is it's a rhodolite garnet.
What exactly is that?
It's a 400 or 500-year-old stone.
400 to 500 years ago puts us in the 15 to the 1600s. Yep. And that's before any searchers, too. That dates back being probably from the original depositors.
Yeah.
The right area we want to be in.
Yeah.
It's a rhodolite garnet.
A rhodolite garnet is a semi-precious gemstone known for its rose-pink to deep red coloring. Its use in jewelry dates all the way back to the days of the Egyptian pharaohs, who used them for both decorative and ceremonial purposes. But how did such a unique stone come to be found on Oak Island? Could it be a piece of some kind of pirate treasure, or one of the legendary lost jewels of Queen Marie Antoinette?
Honestly, I was shocked. I was shocked when Gary said, hey, that not only is not glass, it is at least a semi-precious stone, and it could be very old.
I'm not totally shocked, but again, it's that number, 400 to 500 years old, possibly. That's a huge number, and that's surprising.
How does he date that? How do you date a stone?
His opinion was it was a really old cut. Because remember when we turned it over and you could see the facets on it?
Yes.
Well, these were hand cut. These weren't machine made, and these were done before the days when people thought about refraction and light going through the stones. You know, where they used to do all the fancy cuts, more modern cuts. This is a hand-cut gem.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
There's one other thing.
Yep. It is a silver setting. When people made silver jewelry long ago, it had an high percentage of copper in the mix, up to 73%. Yeah, there wouldn't be that amount of copper in a modern silver jewelry mix.
Yeah.
And this copper color is the copper leaching out.
Oxidizing.
Yeah, out of the silver. And that's how he was able to tell that it was really old, because of the patina on it.
Wow.
Well, I'll pass the gemstone around. Look at that, Charles.
David, I think you might be looking at a spendable right there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Gemstones on Oak Island. Yeah!
Yeah, baby!
Yeah, baby! we got to figure out what it means and bring it to the next expert and all that. I'm going to do a little research on rhodolite garnet. Amazing. A very significant find. I'm very surprised. The stone apparently is real, with a cut that has not been used for a long, long time.
I mean, it certainly is a wow find, but what does it mean? Okay, well, we'll move on then.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Carry on.
All right. See you.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
One day after learning from Gary Drayton that the deep red stone they discovered could be a genuine piece of centuries-old jewelry, Rick Lagina and members of the Oak Island team arrive at the Money Pit site to meet with diver Mike Huntley and his crew.
I'm just going to spin the bow of the van around so we can see this can here.
Mike has been invited to dive the 60-inch wide exploratory shaft known as DMT. If successful, he may be able to determine the exact nature of what is believed to be a large object that has been blocking the team's efforts to continue digging at the site.
Here's Rick.
Where are we at?
Hey, Rick. We're debating and we're hoping.
In the near term, we're going to get real answers from a very significant question, i.e., what is down there and can we get it out? There's an obstruction there.
We're good to go, guys.
Several weeks ago, the Oak Island team began digging their second 60-inch wide shaft of the year, which they had named DMT, in honor of Craig Tester's late son, Drake. They were trying to locate the Chapel Vault, the mysterious 7-foot-tall wooden box that treasure hunters William Chappell and Frederick Blair first discovered in 1897. Although the team is convinced that their first shaft, H8, was successful in reaching it several weeks ago, they believe it may have been pushed aside by the drilling caisson. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, while the team was drilling the DMT shaft, their drilling caisson encountered an obstruction at a depth of 77 feet.
The hammer's jamming on something in there.
It's strong enough to slow that thing down on a pre-pull. That's crazy.
I think it's a plate that we've encountered, and it's not Searcher. It's most likely from the original people, because it seems inconceivable that Searchers would have put such a big piece of metal down there.
I mean, it's an unexplained anomaly.
In order to provide the best visibility possible for the dive operation, Rick and the team have already treated the DMT shaft with a substance known as flocculant, a chemical that causes particles or small debris that could be floating in water to clump together and settle at the bottom of their environment.
If it turns out to be a plate and he can get around the edge of it, he could probably explore a little bit under the plate.
You know, it might not even be a steel plate. It could be a box.
That'd be something if he put his hands down along the edge and it went down.
Exactly.
Deeper than what he could get around the edge of.
Yeah, something down there.
Having invited professional diver Mike Huntley and his crew to Oak Island, Rick Lagina is hoping to find out the exact nature of the obstruction that lies at the bottom of the exploratory drill shaft known as DMT.
We're all very interested in what may be down in this hole. You know, steel plate at that depth, that didn't grow down there. So steel plate would indicate something of value might be below it.
Hey, Mike. You're gonna give us some answers today?
I hope so. Good to see you, man.
I hope so too.
Okay, guys, come on over. Okay, guys, we're gonna start with our first dive for today. For the most part, it's gonna be an investigative dive to see what's actually there. It's 50 feet of water, so we got about 75 minutes without doing decompression. There's no risk of decompression illness or any type of embolism.
Although the shallow depths will not put Mike Huntley and his team at risk of deadly decompression sickness, otherwise known as the bends, the Oak Island team has nevertheless arranged for paramedics to be on site in case of any unforeseen accidents or emergencies.
Let's get wet.
Let's get wet. Awesome.
Dive's about to begin and I'm always nervous. Every dive is dangerous or potentially dangerous. Shallow water dives are the most dangerous because you tend to take things for granted. So everyone's head needs to stay in the game.
Comms check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I hear you loud and clear.
Eyes and boots.
Eyes, boots, and suits.
Eyes, boots, and suits.
Throughout the dive operation, Rick Lagina and the team will be able to maintain constant audio contact with Mike, as well as monitor a live video feed of his activity in the communications trailer.
Main air's on. It's good to go.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Good, good.
Although Rick's brother Marty is currently away on business, their friend and partner Craig Tester is monitoring today's dive from his office in Traverse City, Michigan.
We're a few minutes away from getting Mike down hole. 75 minutes, bottom time.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Joe.
Get him in the water.
Okay, divers in the water. I'll stop.
I'll stop.
I'll stop. Okay, I'm getting out of the chair.
Roger that.
Keep my hose taut, please.
Roger. Keep his hose tight.
Light on. Visibility's getting a little crappier as we get down.
Because the flocculant that was poured earlier into the DMT shaft has not been able to clear up the large amount of clay sediment and silt that still clouds the water, visibility is near zero.
You're at about 47 feet.
Fine, thank you.
You've lost all visibility, Craig.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Mike will now have to try and determine the nature of the obstruction with only his sense of touch.
Wow, this stuff is super buoyant.
What did he say? Super what?
Super buoyant. So whatever's down there is going up.
Yeah, my feet are on the bottom. This is definitely one of the weirder bottoms I've been on. I can sink like there's no tomorrow, but as soon as I touch bottom, it pushes me right off. We got something right here. Oh, damn. Oh my God. It's definitely one of the weirder bottoms I've been on.
While attempting to dive some 77 feet deep in the DMT shaft, diver Mike Huntley has encountered an unusual problem.
I can sink like there's no tomorrow, but as soon as I touch bottom, it pushes me right off.
Almost like spongy?
Spongy, yeah, but I become positively buoyant when I get close to it. I need to become more negative. Like I can touch bottom with my feet, but it keeps shoving me off.
Is there flocculent in there already?
Yeah. You can't stay on bottom.
The flock would make a slurry.
Change the buoyancy.
Unfortunately, the flocculant that the team poured down the DMT shaft to aid Mike Huntley's visibility has not only failed to clear up the water, but is now causing him to float upward. The flocculant has reacted with the debris at the bottom of the DMT shaft and created a thick cloud of a gel-like substance that Mike is unable to sink through.
We introduced a lot of flocculant. Unfortunately, now that's counterproductive to what we wanted to do.
Get that hair back in the water. I'll get to the hair. This is bull. I can't stay on bottom.
Let's see if he can address this situation with weights. He's not able to stand on bottom. He's not able to stand on bottom because it is a tactile dive. He's not going to be able to feel what this obstruction might be.
Okay, Roger. Sending down the chair.
Craig, he's coming out of the hole because he just can't get to bottom.
Up on chair, up on the bill, boys, coming out. Just make sure it's going down slow so it doesn't hit him on top of the head.
Flocculant. Never anticipated. No. Mike's been here before. He's invested in the process. He's committed, and he wants answers. I think we're in an area that has significant potential for discovery.
I'm at the top. All right, let's get me out on dress, get this more weight in this thing and back in the water.
Roger.
There you go. Okay, there's some weight in this thing. Holy.
Mike Huntley's dive team will now pack his dive suit with 60 pounds of lead weights to ensure his ability to reach the bottom of the DMT shaft and to identify what the obstruction, which is preventing further excavation, actually is.
I did a complete 360 with my feet. I haven't felt anything yet. On bottom. That's what I'm thinking, where the hell is it? But I can feel hard bottom. That's the thing. I can feel it. Like boom, 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 just like that.
I mean, there's so much unknown about the Money Pit area. We just simply need to know, what is this thing?
Let's go, jump. Okay, diver going down. Diver in the water. I'll stop.
Roger. I'll stop.
Okay, I'm getting out of the chair.
Roger that.
Give me slack, diver slack. Oh, I think I'm in that flocculant. That's what it is.
Yeah, we can't see a whole lot up here.
Okay, let's get into this stuff. Pretty bad down here.
How much flock did they throw in?
I don't know exactly, but enough to grab all the heavy stuff and bring it down.
Feel a hard obstruction down here, finally.
Perfect.
Jack in the command center there.
Jack? Want me to get Jack? Jack! Jack! Jack!
They're getting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think keep hitting bottom, hard bottom.
Yes!
So are you saying that preemptively or thinking that it's a plate?
Yeah, that's what it feels. I mean,
oh, man.
It's kind of wide like a plate.
Could the obstruction really be a steel plate, as Mike Huntley suggests? And if so, what is it protecting?
When he gives an opinion that we are indeed on a metal plate, I mean, that's an aha moment. Really, a metal plate at this depth? Again, from a historical context, there should not be a metal plate there as part of searcher agenda. So if it's not searcher, it's original. How deep is it?
How deep is the material that we have to go through?
Just to get to whatever it is, 8 inches.
Well, that's
we probably have another 4 inches or more after that, just so we can get underneath it and see what we're dealing with.
Because of the near zero visibility caused by the clay and sediment stirred up in the 60-inch shaft, Mike Huntley must rely only on his sense of touch to examine the size and orientation of the believed plate.
You've got 10 minutes.
Okay, roger that.
Hey, Rick. Is there any way to grab a sample of what he's been...
Is there a way he could grab a sample?
You want him to grab a sample?
If he can.
Well, is there any way for you to quick get a sample?
Yeah, roger that. Can you send that chair down here? Get some big samples of what's on bottom here. Current stuff.
We found something, Rick.
Can you send that chair down here? I got some big samples of what's on bottom here. Current stuff.
Roger that. We'll get the chair sent down.
With Mike Huntley's dive time in the DMT shaft running out, it is the team's hope that by collecting samples from the bottom some 77 feet below ground, Mike will obtain proof of a believed steel plate and perhaps whatever it might have been put there to protect.
That was one of the most frustrating dives I've done.
Yeah.
I don't know what's there. I stuck that knife 1 to 12 o'clock, center to the edge. In some spots I thought I hit a plate, and then the more I hit it, it was hard.
You're in the moment, especially on a tactile dive where you can't see anything, you're groping about. He comes to surface and he says, "You're certainly on something. You need to go look at those sample bags."
This is what I found. I thought I had a hard bottom, and I could find not a thing.
Chisel has hardened alloy steel on it, and it broke it apart.
Yeah. To do that, like, you're into something very, very hard.
Yeah.
From what you have in that bag, no.
Wouldn't do it. Yeah.
No.
No, totally.
No.
I think we go back down and see what we find.
Okay. Yep.
Because Mike has reached his dive time safety limit for the day, backup diver Nick Perry will now descend the DMT shaft. He will also be equipped with a pinpointing metal detector to determine whether or not the obstruction is metal, and if possible, remove it.
Just turn your pinpointer on and metal detect the whole hard area.
Roger. I'm not getting any vibrations off of it.
Peel your glove off and get a really good smooth feel with your hand.
Yeah, roger that. Feels roughish. It just feels like a hard granite rock.
Nick has felt the rock underneath the can.
Driver sitting in the chair.
Roger that.
And I think we've excluded the possibility that it's steel. So what do we do? How do we proceed? I'm dismayed.
Because the massive steel caisson was designed to drill through just about anything, the fact that it couldn't cut through a granite rock is deeply confusing.
There's definitely a granite rock there, because I felt it, took the glove off, you could feel the round edge, rubbed it.
It's granite.
Well, if it's a hard granite, there's some granites is hard to steel.
Both Nick and Mike, to their credit, have stated forthrightly what they have observed and or felt, and they believe it to be a boulder. And I think there was hope all around that this really was a find. But it's not, and thus we move on.
The following day, Rick Lagina and members of the Oak Island team meet with the crew from Irving Equipment Limited at the Money Pit site. Because the 60-inch wide drilling caisson cannot break through the granite obstruction at the bottom of the DMT shaft, they must accept a bitter reality that further drilling is out of the question, at least for now. They have run out of time and are dangerously low on the money they budgeted for this year.
Look, it's a little different feel right now than when we saw you guys come across the causeway, you know, but I will say this. It's been a pleasure working with Irving Group and with Rock. It's been fantastic. You know, we don't walk away with our heads hanging low. I mean, there's something down there.
Really appreciate being part of it, and hopefully we continue to be part of it and get to the bottom of that hole.
I don't like to make promises on Oak Island, but we have every expectation to see you guys back here. We'll get to the bottom of this thing. It's not goodbye, we'll see you soon. To that end, we're not done. Scott, thank you. We've decided to let Irving and Rock go. The bitter part of it, of course, is that we didn't find what we had hoped we would find. Some substantial one thing in H8 and locating the vault in the second hole of DMT. But we vigorously investigated the supposed area of the money pit. We've got 2 cans, large diameter cans, that have their structural integrity and that we can possibly use for further exploration. So we have moved the dial on Oak Island. Unfortunately, it's still an island of what-ifs and possibilities.
After a summer that saw the discovery of everything from 17th century human bones to antique jewelry and a cross that could date back to the days of the Knights Templar, Rick, Marty, and their team may be closer than ever to solving the mystery of Oak Island. But now, having invested another hard year and millions of dollars, the time has arrived for a critical decision. Should they continue? And if so, how? One day after making the difficult decision to end this year's search operations at the Money Pit site.
Charles, wow. That's quite a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
Brothers Rick and Marty Lagina and other members of the Oak Island team meet in the war room for what is likely to be their final time this year.
Before we begin, I'd like to get Craig up on the phone.
Looks like we got Craig. Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
How's it going there?
Craig, we're looking at a display of the year's finds. We certainly have a mosaic here, and we have yet to put it together. There's a lot of puzzle pieces. Mom would tell us, get your straight edges here, put your corner pieces there, put your colored pieces here, put the blue pieces here. And that's what we've got laid out before us. And we have yet to figure it out.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, so why don't you start, Gary? Discuss what you consider the highlights of what you found.
This crucifix cross, to me, is defined of a season. Holy shamoly, all right.
It's a cross.
Oh my gosh, I mean, that is an old cross. That is really, really old, and that came from somewhere else.
What did your analysis come up with?
13th century or older, Dan, is what people are saying.
Yeah, because this cross is the type of thing that's carved into prison walls and church walls in Europe.
Is this solely a Templar construct?
It is closely associated with the Crusading orders.
There's a carving in France, a prison tower where up to 70 Templar knights were imprisoned after they were rounded up in 1307.
1307, well, that's the tail end of them.
Look at the legs, the head, everything's really similar.
I think the cross is a uniquely singular item, worthy of far more research.
Absolutely.
So, Charles, what do you think is most significant on this table?
I think another one of the, significant finds, is the human bones out of H8.
To me, the money pit with the human bones, that's, it's huge.
To the limits of science, we know that 2 people's remains are in the money pit.
Yeah.
We have 2 samples, both human, and it's definitely 2 different humans. You've got Western European and East Asian.
In carbon dating, 1600s.
Human bones from 162 feet, below searcher depth.
That's a hell of a depth to be burying somebody.
Yeah. They take on significance if they're below 6 feet.
I agree.
What I find exciting is that piece of parchment that you found this year in H8. That corroborates what William Chappell found in his drilling in 1897. You know, you verified what they found 120 years ago. You've been able to bring a piece of a document up out of the ground.
You know, finding that myself, I am 100% positive that there's something very valuable in the Money Pit area.
I have always said that what's here may be treasure, there may be manuscripts or books, ancient knowledge, something that is far more valuable than temporal wealth. And this substantiates that belief.
And there's a couple of finds we're forgetting about. Those 2 coins here have got 1,600 dates on them. One's 1673, was it? And the other's in the 1690s.
When was the Money Pit discovered?
1795.
1795.
Right.
Well, that had to be deposited well before the discovery of the Money Pit, 100 years before.
Yeah.
There's certainly a suggestion of an earlier occupation.
Pre-Money Pit?
Yep.
Wow.
Did you see the brooch?
I did, yes, yeah.
What did you think about that?
It's so interesting. But it's obviously handmade. It's kind of asymmetrical, too.
You said, Gary, that was all hand cut.
Yeah.
Not machined.
I remember when I first picked it up and you turned it over, Rick, you saw all the facets.
I thought this was glass. It apparently is not glass. It is a rhodolite, darn it, a semi-precious stone. This is about what you picture when you open a treasure chest.
Mm-hmm. The lock plate came from not far off where the jewel, the brooch, was found.
A key lock cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm playing junior archaeologist here, but I can't help but draw the conclusion.
Dan, you brought this collective, if you will, together. What do you think?
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, everything got on the table doesn't prove or disprove whether there's treasure on Oak Island. I would say probably 75–80% of that is all from the surface. All that your surface finds are doing is giving you a known anyway. At some time or another, someone has spent a lot of time on the surface of Oak Island. It's very graphic as far as looking at it is concerned, but I mean, in the same token, it's time-consuming and expensive. That's no BS, that's fact.
Dan, let me ask you a question. Should we keep going? Hey, Dan, let me ask you a really tough question. You want us to quit?
It's a hard question, Marty. It really is. It's a deep question and it's hard.
The Oak Island team has gathered in the war room for what could be their most important decision to date, whether to continue forward or put their entire operation on hold indefinitely.
Dan, you have any thoughts?
How deep is your pockets? It boils down to whether it's worth it.
That's the key question, though, Dan. How do you evaluate that, whether it's worth it? How do you evaluate that?
What should affect it is the hard evidence that has come out is substantiating up to a certain extent. But I don't think you should put too much undue influence on this here.
I entered this whole quest thinking that maybe nothing of any consequence really happened on this island prior to 1790. But as this year draws to a close, I have to say I don't believe that anymore. There's too much here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I now believe something did happen here prior to 1790. Well, there you go.
It's quite obvious, Marty.
That's getting somewhere.
You've come a long way.
I have. I have.
We can't stop now. I mean, look what we found so far this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what you want to do.
Oh, yeah. I know where I want to be next year. I'm like a kid in a candy store, I really am.
Doug? I think you've got some of the most convincing evidence in the last 120 years. All I can tell you is, if you continue, I'm here to support you in any way I can.
Well, Charles?
Let's put it this way. I don't want you to quit.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So,
hey, Laird, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, the archaeologists, we need this stuff. We need the hard evidence.
Is your excitement level higher, though?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
So, Dan, what do you think?
First thought I have is that you're pretty close to the right location.
You wouldn't quit, though, would you?
Can't say I wouldn't, just that I wouldn't want to.
All right, Dan, let's ask Craig. You've been listening to all this.
Well, the evidence this year, Marty, we didn't find the treasure, but I think we had a fantastic year.
Yes.
We got a number of major things out in Smith's Cove, the U-shaped structure, and could there be more things like the lead cross that could tell us who did it? Yeah, definitely.
Jack, I think it's your turn.
Yep. I think that we still have a lot of exploring left to do. And this year proved it.
What say you, number one son?
Year one, I was kind of thinking, come on, what are we really going to find? This year, I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot more to be found.
We moved you a long way, too.
Oh, yeah.
You always thought when I told you the story, you always thought, oh, there goes Uncle Rick on again, right?
Yeah, I did. I won't lie. I did think that. I don't think it anymore. The preponderance of evidence here, I wouldn't drill this up and then stop. That's my opinion.
Depending upon how old you are. I came here over 50 years ago, and what attracted me to Oak Island was the mystery. That's what attracted me.
Okay.
Do you feel there's still a mystery to solve here?
Well, the answer to that would have to be yes.
Amen. And with that, I will see what Fearless Leader says. What do you want to do?
I think what we need to do, given the amount of significant material there, I'm going to fall back on what Dan suggested to us last year. Take a step back, try to ascertain what all of this may mean. And for me, this puzzle is who, what, when, where, why, and how. And this year in particular, this little piece of parchment might be the what. And this little item right here, this might be a clue to lead us to who. And the rest will fall into place, but we have to follow. We speak a lot about family here. And for Marty and I, we always run back to Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
So Mom would say, sempre avanti, always forward. Get the puzzle together. But for me, the only way to really put this thing together is for us to do it together. One in, all in, once in, forever in.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
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 So, I say we celebrate. I say we declare
Crown
victory.
time.
It's crown time. I say to the fellowship. To the fellowship of the dig. All right.
As another exciting and emotional year on Oak Island comes to an end.
Well, guys, it's been a good year, Dave.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.
David.
Rick? Yep.
Brothers Rick and Marty Lagina leave the island with no regrets.
You've turned into a regular man hugger. Hey.
Although they have so far not found anything resembling a fabled golden treasure,
I'm gonna miss you, Charles.
Miss you too, buddy.
Man.
they have uncovered evidence that could be of even greater value.
See you later.
Evidence that could change not only the history of North America, but the world.
See you all, guys.
We've certainly made progress. And I think that, we certainly have a substantial amount of puzzle pieces. And now it's getting time where we start putting some of these pieces together. We need connective tissue.
To some extent, it's like a love-hate relationship. This island can be brutal. And it can be rewarding, and it's beautiful. But it's mystical. But it's all those things. but it's time to take a break. The search goes home for a while.
For now.
Yeah.
Tonight on The Curse of Oak Island, a special 2-hour premiere.
This is going to be the biggest year ever.
There's no more guesswork.
We have discovered new technology.
Here it comes.
Right near the circle, there's a possible shaft.
We know there's a tunnel here. Let's get to work.
They're going to take a sample of the lead cross.
This has some story to tell us.
Look, it's another Bobby Dazzler. We did it again.
There is an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years. So far, they have found a stone slab with strange symbols carved into it, mysterious fragments of human bone, and a lead cross, whose origin may stretch back to the days of the Knights Templar. To date, 6 men have died trying to solve the mystery. And, according to legend, 1 more will have to die before the treasure can be found. It is the beginning of another new year on Oak Island.
Okay, big brother, here we go. This year the dream comes true.
Yeah. And for brothers Rick and Marty Lagina, it is also shaping up to be the most productive and successful season yet in their quest to solve a 223-year-old mystery.
How are you feeling about this year?
Boy, we certainly have a box full of puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And it's about time we step up to the plate and start putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yep.
Okay, so where's your belief that something happened on Oak Island, scale of 1 to 10?
I'd say I am 70% convinced that something very out of the ordinary occurred on Oak Island.
That's a long way from where
I
you
started.
were.
Yes.
Long way.
Well, here's where I'm at, Rick. I mean, this thing has been way harder than I thought.
I know.
But it's exciting, the things we laid out on that table last year.
I know.
And that drives me and that motivates me.
I agree. We're looking at a display of the year's finds.
Last year saw the Laginas and their partners make some of their most astonishing discoveries to date, including 2 17th century coins, a brooch containing a hand-carved, semi-precious gemstone, and a mysterious lead cross, which appears eerily similar to one carved in the wall of a Templar prison in Dome, France, and may date as far back as the 14th century.
I think the lead cross is the single most important item found on Oak Island that we are absolutely sure of.
I think there's a lot more to be learned about that cross.
Rick, I tell you, every year is this is the year, this is the year. Well, you know what? It's made me feisty. And I say we throw every damn resource we have at it this year.
Yep.
So I'm feeling like this year it's go big or go home. Here we go. Once more into the breach. I have come a long ways towards being convinced that something extraordinary happened on this island. We're finding some things that are really, really hard to explain. So I'd like to see us do something 10 times as big as we did last year.
I was gratified to hear him say that. So I'm good.
Here we are. Oh, wow, that's very nice.
Because of the increasing number of visitors to the island during the summer months, Rick, Marty, and their Oak Island partners have built a second, even more private war room on another area of the island.
Nice.
Like that?
Yeah. There they are. The Fellowship of the Dig. Yes. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys, Dan.
But even though the building is new, The inside remains comfortably familiar.
Charles. David.
Morty.
How goes treasure hunting, buddy?
Good.
Hey, Jack.
There's no question that this is a treasure hunt, but it's not just looking for treasure.
There's the man.
Marty.
Daniel. Good to see you, bud. Looking younger every year.
It's also for the shared experience that we have, the Oak Island family.
This is the year?
Oh, stop it.
I know that we're all committed to pushing the envelope this year in a variety of ways, and hopefully it'll bear fruit.
Yes. Well, look, the mission here today is to talk about what we're going to do and try and get organized. I think we all have our ideas of what we do this year, but I'd like to turn it over to Rick here to talk about where we go. Rick, why don't you lay out
Well, I'll
what
lay
that
out
means?
my ideas, but I think I speak for all of us to this extent. It's still the big three, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's the money pit,
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
the swamp,
Yeah.
and then the third big thing, of course, Smith's Cove is still a target.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
The cross was found in Smith's Cove.
Yeah.
What artifacts remain there? What is the U-shaped structure that Dan found long ago?
And you never got a chance to expose the whole structure, did you?
I exposed enough of it to tell what it was and how it was constructed.
In 1970, Oak Island resident and treasure hunter Dan Blankenship built a massive cofferdam around Smith's Cove. He was hoping to locate and possibly shut off a network of booby-trapped flood tunnels that are believed to have been constructed centuries ago and which were designed to undermine searcher efforts to dig in the infamous Money Pit. But what Dan found instead was astonishing. A massive U-shaped wooden structure buried some 6 feet below the surface, and which featured a number of notched posts on which were carved a series of Roman numerals. Unfortunately, Dan was forced to abandon his investigation when a violent storm destroyed the dam.
But I would like to get
You want to see it?
I want to see it, I want to stand on it, I want to expose the entire structure and once and for all figure out, does it have any relevance to the original work?
To really do a good job, I think we're going to have to go with a major type cofferdam. And so we've been talking with a couple different companies with different ideas.
Yeah, well, the cofferdam's a pretty exciting idea.
You're looking forward to that?
Oh, yeah, it has a lot of potential.
How big are we talking?
Big.
Big.
Even bigger than Dan's cofferdam?
Yes, that's what we're potentially looking at.
In an effort to fully excavate Smith's Cove, the Oak Island team is planning to build what will be the largest cofferdam ever constructed on the island. This massive water and weatherproof dam will allow the team to not only uncover any historically important artifacts and the U-shaped structure, but also the possible remains of the flood tunnels. Flood tunnels that could lead them directly to the fabled Oak Island Money Pit, a centuries-old treasure vault rumored to contain everything from vast hoards of pirate gold to the lost folios of William Shakespeare and priceless religious artifacts taken from the Holy Land by the Knights Templar hundreds of years ago.
What else? What else are we talking about?
So many questions still remain to be answered in the Money Pit.
Yeah.
Because of the finds last year, the parchment, the bookbinding leather, the interest in H8, what happened to the earthen plug.
Solid wood coming up.
Last year, when the Oak Island team attempted to excavate the borehole known as H8, located in the Money Pit area,
We're hoping we're on the corner of the chapel shaft.
they found what they believed to be the legendary Chapel Vault, a 7-foot-tall wooden structure first discovered by William Chappell and Frederick Blair in 1897, and which was believed to contain ancient documents and objects made of solid gold.
Something was in front of the can and we were pushing it for a while.
But when the team attempted to reach the vault with a 60-inch wide drilling caisson, instead of penetrating it, they believe it simply was pushed further down to a depth of some 170 feet and into what seemed to be a mud-filled void.
It's still in there then.
Exactly.
But it was while examining the spoils taken from this same hole that the team made another astonishing discovery.
What is this?
Human bones, later identified as belonging to two separate individuals, one from Europe and another from the Middle East, and both scientifically dated to be approximately 400 years old.
No, it just underscores we can't quit on H8, not yet.
Yeah.
I don't think we're done there.
No. There's some information that can be gleaned, and one of the ways, I'm hopeful at least, is that the application of the seismic is really going to be a defining moment for that area.
Yes.
Commonly used in the energy industry, seismic scanning is a process by which a number of strategically placed dynamite charges are detonated in order to produce powerful shock waves. These shock waves, in turn, generate a highly accurate map of what voids or obstacles may lie in an area as much as 6 miles below the surface.
And if this really does work, it'll be the first time in the 2¼ centuries of search that we can actually look underground with definition. If we can look underground in the Money Pit, it's a game changer.
The company's contacted me about that, so I'm researching it more.
Okay, good.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. There's one subject that kind of got lost in this discussion, and that is the rhodolite garnet that you found last year.
Yeah.
Everyone believes it was significant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look at this, Rick.
Last year, while metal detecting on Lot 8, on the western portion of the island,
We just found a jewel.
Rick and Gary discovered a brooch containing a rhodolite garnet, a semi-precious stone that may date back earlier than the 16th century.
That is a Bobby Dazzler.
Gary's discovery of the gemstone. It was not in any particularly important spot. It was just on one of the lots. So it's not a great leap of logic for us to say we would like him to effectively do the entire island. Who knows what he might find?
And to that end, I think we should clear lots 1 through 8 and lots 21 and 22, which you've never been able to access.
Yeah, it's just so thick in there, you can't swing a metal detector.
Yeah, we'll get some heavy equipment in there and we'll clear those lots so you can swing that metal detector.
Okay.
And then who knows how many brooches and or other things you'll find.
I'm telling you now, guys, we're gonna need a bigger table.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Ain't seen nothing yet. So, gentlemen, coming into this room, seeing this assembly of brilliant minds, I am nothing but rejuvenated. We can do this, can we not? You ready to get after it?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
let's get out of here.
It is a day of great anticipation for Rick, Marty, and their partners. Today, they will begin the process of mapping the Money Pit area by means of seismic testing.
Well, Craig, are you excited about this? It's a long time coming, right?
Yeah, excited and nervous.
Are you?
Sure, mainly that the searchers did so much damage near surface that we just can't get good data.
But it's exciting. I mean, if it does work, we get to see
what's in the ground.
See what's in the ground, what your dad's been dreaming about forever, huh, David?
Yep.
Marty, Rick, their partner Craig Tester, and Dave Blankenship have arranged to meet with representatives from Eagle Canada, a geophysical exploration company. They will conduct a test in order to determine if the application of seismic scanning technology will allow them to see what lies hidden beneath the surface of Oak Island.
So, that's where we're gonna park?
Yeah. So, Alex, this is a novel application, right, because it's so shallow?
Yeah.
Have you done some of this before? Or?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we did the exact same 2D line that we're gonna do here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having good image at about 10 feet down.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Because of sonic interference from environmental noises generated at ground level, seismic testing was only considered reliable in the mapping of very deep formations, often miles below the Earth's surface. But thanks to recent advancements, seismic testing of more shallow areas, like the Money Pit, have yielded impressive and highly accurate results.
Well, what we want to do is start off with the test line, right up in through here. That's the test line.
we know there's a tunnel you're going to cross here.
The Halifax Tunnel.
So that's going to be the test, right? To see
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because a full-scale survey of the Money Pit area will be very expensive, the Oak Island team has decided to conduct a sample test over an area where they know an underground anomaly exists, the searcher shaft known as the Halifax Tunnel. Dug in 1867 by a team of treasure hunters working under the name the Halifax Company. The Halifax Tunnel was a 110-foot shaft located approximately 200 feet south of the Money Pit. The location was chosen in hopes it would allow the team to dig down to the Money Pit level and then over to it, in order to avoid the maze of booby-trapped flood tunnels that protect the treasure site. It didn't work. As they neared the target depth, the shaft suddenly began filling up with seawater, forcing the Halifax Company to abandon their search efforts. Because the location of the shaft has been well documented, having it show up in the test will encourage the team to invest an estimated $1 million to map the entire Money Pit area.
Dan Henske knows where the Halifax shaft was, and Dan Blankenship knows roughly the orientation. So this is literally a test, and I hope they pass with flying colors.
Based on our testing, I think we should be able to see that. So
good. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just remember, we do know where it is, so don't just pick a spot.
All right, I don't know if we have anything else left to do.
Let's go find some treasure.
For luck.
Yes, thanks.
Guys, let's get to work.
In preparation for the seismic test, the team from Eagle Canada will now drill a number of 2-foot deep holes, spaced 3 feet apart, over the designated search area. Each hole will then be filled with a small blasting cap containing 20 grams of dynamite that, when detonated, will set off a sound wave through the ground. They will also strategically place devices known as geophones, which, similar to sonar technology, will measure the sound waves as they bounce off layers of rock or underground structures.
The goal of the seismic, simply put, is to image whatever we can image underground. In the case of the Money Pit area, it would be to find a vault or some other structure that we've hitherto missed.
If we can do that, I think we're well on our way to defining a hard target in the Money Pit. But whatever information they can provide us is surely going to be helpful.
Heads up, guys.
Later that same day, as the team from Eagle Canada continues to prepare the Money Pit area for the test line operation, and while workers begin clearing away trees and brush on the unexplored western areas of the island.
Okay, guys, here we go. Brand new year, huh? I'm curious to see how the island survived.
Marty Lagina and members of the team head to Smith's Cove.
We had a series of storms over the winter, so I would imagine that beach had took a pretty bad hit, which means it's good for Gary and Laird because it should turn up some things.
Yeah, beach erosion.
Yeah.
There's got to be some more good stuff there.
They are eager to know if months of harsh winter storms might have brought to the surface any more important clues or valuable objects, like the mysterious lead cross, which was discovered here last year.
We'll go straight to where we recovered the cross. Right, you ready to make history, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we'll do, we'll start here and we'll go towards the water's edge and just keep going out there.
I'm rolling up my sleeves and everything, Gary.
That's good. That means you're going to be doing some digging.
Okay.
What's that, Gary?
Yeah, it's too low. I think that's iron. But because it's a deep target, I think we should dig it up, just to make sure. So this is the center where the target is.
Okay, try.
Let me see if it's closer. All right, let's see. It's an iron spike.
Oh, yes. You have a few of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it's modern?
Yeah, that's definitely modern. What do you say, lead?
Yeah, it's got a square shank, cut head nail, so it's 19th century, but later, the latter part.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Although this is only just a little insignificant find, it isn't, because we pounded this area last year, and we're finding already, which is a good sign.
Yeah. Keep going.
We're digging this.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a clear two-way repeatable signal. So I think the best thing to do with the spoils is put them up high. Oh, that looks like it, Charles.
What's that right there?
Looks like Charles got it out.
Look, right there.
Here, guys.
Wow.
This is good.
Is that a piece of lead?
Yeah, a piece of cut lead.
Huh.
But they used to put lead on the side of ships.
They used to waterproof with lead.
Yeah.
Lead was kind of a ubiquitous thing. It was almost like duct tape.
That's it, just basically a lead patch, isn't it?
Yeah.
From a Spanish treasure hunter's perspective, this is interesting because this type of stuff was used below the waterline on Spanish galleons.
Lead from a Spanish galleon found on the shore of Smith's Cove? Could it have come from one of the many Spanish galleons or even pirate ships that are known to have visited Oak Island in the 17th and 18th centuries?
It's a thin little cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a delicate little...
I think it was done with shears by the look of it.
It is.
So this could be quite old.
You know, we're all talking marine origin, which is, of course, is likely we're standing on the edge of the ocean, but we know we have a mysterious structure under here, the notorious U-shaped structure. Maybe it had some role in that.
It's possible. You mean like waterproofing on the outside kind of a thing?
Because we don't know what that thing was yet. We don't know what it did, what it was for, who did it. Now, I am keenly interested in the very significant U-shaped structure that has never been analyzed properly or even revealed properly.
The hope is that we can expose enough of that, or all of that, where we can actually get a proper sample. And hopefully at the end of the day, we'll have some answers.
First day, first significant find, I believe.
I do too. It's a clue. And it also shows that you know what you're doing, again.
Another question mark, Marty.
Yeah, great, Charles. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Fortunately, we're filling in, so we're going to have to keep to the higher ground.
I think, guys, we should keep going.
Yeah.
After a successful day spent metal detecting at Smith's Cove, Marty and Rick, along with other team members, gather at the Mug and Anchor pub in the nearby town of Mahone Bay to review their latest finds and plan critical next steps.
What do you make of it, Dan?
Well, first thing is to estimate the diameter, so this looks like it was part of something pretty large.
Where was this found exactly?
Kind of right around where the cross was found.
Very near that.
Maybe the same people that lost the cross lost this, too.
I mean, anything's possible.
But anyway, it's a nice way to start out the season with something.
Exactly.
No, I think we all acknowledge that Gary's finding the cross. I like to call it Drayton's cross.
He likes that too.
It was probably the most exciting find. You know, I mean, we need answers from that. So at the University of New Brunswick, they run this test. It's called laser ablation. It's non-destructive. Then we get what's called lead isotope values off of that test. And from that, the hope is that they can give us at least geographic origin.
Wow.
Much like a human fingerprint, metals, such as lead, have unique chemical variants known as isotopes that are specific to geographic regions on Earth. By using a process known as laser ablation testing, a high-powered laser will cut microscopic samples from the surface of the lead cross. This will then be analyzed to determine the lead's specific isotope value and possibly its geographic place of origin. It is Rick Lagina's hope that if the test is successful, he and the team will be one giant step closer to finding out not only where the cross came from, but how old it is. And perhaps more importantly, who may have brought it to Oak Island.
We have to get it tested. There's no question about it. Mr. Blankenship has always cautioned us, don't let your imagination run away from you. Stick to the facts. You know, be very objective in your analysis of anything you find. So at the end of the day, somebody needs to go to the UNB to get this test done. Peter, I designate you to take it there.
I can do that.
Okay.
I will bring a couple of guys with us.
Perfect. And I'm sure we're all aware of the inaccessible lots. Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 are practically impassable. Got a company to come down with what they call a mulcher. Gary can finally get into these areas which have been inaccessible all these years.
So, let's hope the lead is an auspicious start to a great new season. We got a ton of stuff to do, but for right now, to the new season.
This is as much work as I care to do.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Start pulling these sandbags off the G-phones.
Roger.
The next day, as the team from Eagle Canada finishes preparing the Money Pit area for today's seismic test line operation,
Let's do this.
Rick Lagina, along with metal detection expert Gary Drayton and archaeologist Laird Niven, head to Lot 2 on the western side of the island.
Look, they did a remarkable job of clearing, but I think we should
keep expanding the search area.
Yeah, you lead the way. You're the guy with the lucky metal detector.
They are searching areas of the island that have remained virtually unexplored in hopes of finding important artifacts or treasure.
This looks like a good spot, guys. And we know we are the first people to search this, probably ever.
Well, all I can say is good luck.
Let's do the big boulder.
Yep.
Should we pull the moss off this? Are we okay to do that?
Yep.
Wow, this has been on here a long time. At the top. Oh, was that a signal? And that's non-ferrous.
Oh, really?
It's quite deep as well. Reading 10 inches just there, mate. Still reading deeper. Other side. Oh, I got it.
Oh, baby.
Look at the patina on that.
Oh, my goodness.
Now that's a coin.
You tell me what it is.
That's a coin. Oh,
Wow.
man.
What is that?
That's King George III. I know what this is. That's a cartwheel 2 pence, a tuppenny. This looks like it's from 1797.
In 1797, a shortage of small denomination coins throughout the British Empire led to the limited production of some 720,000 copper coins, known as 2 pennies. Minted with the likeness of King George III, the unusual size of the coins, combined with a wide outer rim, earned them the nickname cartwheels.
That is freaking crazy.
What do you make of the lettering?
It should say Britannia on it, on one side.
Yeah.
I mean, we got those King George coppers, King Charles up near the Money Pit. We've got British presence on the island.
Because it is dated 2 years after the Money Pit's discovery in 1795, the presence of a cartwheel penny on Oak Island offers possible evidence of someone who may have come to the island searching for treasure. But if so, what is it they were hoping to find on Lot 2, so far from the infamous treasure site?
It always buoys our spirits to find a unique item that may or may not have a significant impact on the constantly evolving story of Oak Island. It's always nice to have a small win, and that's a small win. Okay, I hate to badger you, but what else might be?
Okay, let's have a look, see if there's anything else.
As Rick, Gary, and Laird continue their search for artifacts on Lot 2, back at the Money Pit, Craig Tester and members of the Oak Island team eagerly await the start of the seismic test line.
They've hooked up, and then there's a line that goes 30 meters to the pack that's charging up right now. When they charge, you'll hear the tone come over the radio.
Okay.
Where is that? How's the winds looking in the Money Pit there? 7.2. Okay, video.
The team from Eagle Canada will now detonate some 150 small charges. This will generate a series of seismic pulses deep within the underground test area.
Here it comes. All right, set up, guys.
Here we go.
What went up?
I thought this year was going to be one of our biggest search years ever.
Heads up.
But I didn't understand until I got here how big we were going. Starting off with this seismic.
I like it. You got good energy so far.
And after last year, the finds that we had just from the spoils,
Yep, here it comes.
it gave us enough indication that there is something down there worth finding. And if we have a really good target off this seismic, it's not a guessing game anymore.
One day after conducting the test line seismic scan at the Money Pit site,
We'd like to, first of all, welcome you to the War Room.
Rick Lagina, along with Craig Tester, Charles Barkhouse, and Jack Begley, meet with the team from Eagle Canada. They are eager to find out if the operation was successful enough to warrant further testing, in hopes of finding out what may have been buried deep beneath the surface of Oak Island more than 200 years ago.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hello.
Joining them via video conference is geophysicist Jeremy Church, who will interpret the test line results.
We're looking forward to your presentation. You've got some results that we very much look forward to coming to an understanding about.
Yep.
We were super excited, stressed a little bit. We wanted to make it work. I don't think a seismic like that have been shot in the world, like that tight of a parameter. I think we're seeing a page of history here.
You're talking about groundbreaking science.
Yeah.
Great.
So I'll let Jeremy talk about the results. Jack's gonna bring the data on the screen here.
Using the data from yesterday's readings, the Eagle team has generated a virtual cross-section of the ground beneath the test area. It has allowed them to differentiate not only the layers of rock and earth, but also whatever underground structures are buried within them.
I wish I could be there to see your faces, because it's quite an impressive image that has been created here. I have an area circled in a little yellow circle, and I refer to that as a possible shaft. You'll see that there is a nice blue reflector that's broken at that point where I believe that shaft or opening is. This typically indicates that you have a massive change in the material that's there, and it's at a depth between about 90 feet and 120 feet or so.
That's the Halifax tunnel.
So it would seem.
Yeah.
For Rick, Marty, and the team, the success of the seismic test offers a historic breakthrough.
Here's some really good news.
For the first time in the 223-year history of the Oak Island treasure hunt, they will be able to effectively create an accurate map of what structures or voids exist deep within the Money Pit.
The opportunity that's being presented to us by Eagle is being able to look underground for the first time in 2¼ centuries of search. That's remarkable. Because as you look back, the people that have come before us, they had no idea of the complexities underground, and still they labor. They would have done anything to look underground, to find the answers which they so long fought for and bled for, and in some cases died for. That's a story in and of itself, and it would be invaluable as any treasure.
This is groundbreaking. You're going to do something that's never been done on this island. And the people that have come and gone, invested their lives, their passions, their interest in this mystery.
Yeah.
You're now going to give them the best Christmas gift they've ever opened. You're changing lives here, and that's pretty remarkable. And again, I get choked up. I say thank you. You should be proud of yourselves.
Yeah.
I very much look forward to the continued hunt for the information in the money pit.
Yeah, it was nice to hit the mark on this one.
You hit the mark. You hit the bullseye. No question about it.
Yeah.
The next day, the team from Eagle Canada returns to Oak Island, ready to begin preparations for the large-scale seismic scanning survey across the entire Money Pit area. Over the next few days, they will detonate some 1,300 charges, which along with some 1,500 geophone receivers will allow them to create a virtual 3-dimensional map of the ground beneath Oak Island.
Where are you starting?
Right at the edge of the money pit on the west side.
Yeah, we're gonna chew that money pit up pretty good.
In a good way. In a good way. Right now, it's all about the data.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike the 2-dimensional test line, the dynamite charges and geophone receivers have been strategically positioned in a grid pattern around past dig sites, including the C1 and H8 shafts.
The goal of the seismic in the Money Pit area would be to find a vault that we may have missed, to find something that we haven't even explored yet. I am realistically optimistic about the results of the seismic. I've seen a lot of seismic over the last probably 40 years, and they should be able to delineate anomalies.
This is just one step forward in that search for the truth.
It would be awesome if we could get that the 3D data processed right away to actually see some of it while we're still out here, but not likely. Do you guys want to go up there and take a look?
Yeah, I'd like to go up there. Right, Dave?
Yep.
Let's give it a look.
As each seismic line is charged and armed for blasting, it will be wirelessly detonated from the inside of the command center, located nearby on the South Shore Road. Although only 20 grams of dynamite is being detonated in each charge, the team must remain at least 150 feet clear of the blast area.
Hi, guys.
Charles, Alex, boys, how's it going?
Very good. The guys are doing really well.
This is small scale in terms of what you normally do, right? But this is incredibly labor intensive. I mean, I'm impressed. I look out all this work you've done. Hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
You really did a heck of a job. Hopefully you're going to do something that's never been done on Oak Island before, and that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Ready to go? Roger. Here it comes.
We're watching the detonations go off. That somewhat reminds you of the 4th of July. Fireworks going off. I think we have high expectations, all of us, about this year, the scope of the project, because it's about trying to put the puzzle together. There's only one goal, there only has been one goal, and that is to solve the Oak Island mystery.
There's no more guesswork. You guys are actually going to give us a playbook, and that's pretty cool.
All right, shut up, guys. Sorry about that.
Once everybody's ready, just send your tones. Okay, here comes.
As the team from Eagle Canada continues their extensive seismic scanning operation of the Money Pit area,
we'll see what they can do.
Craig Tester, Dave Blankenship, and Peter Fernetti are traveling more than 300 miles northwest of Oak Island to the University of New Brunswick in the city of Fredericton. They have come here to supervise a test of the lead cross that was found last year at Smith's Cove.
Holy shamoly, all right.
It's a cross.
That's a cross.
If successful, the test could shed new light on its mysterious origin.
Well, guys, this should be interesting. It sounds like this laser ablation might tell us what area of the world this lead came from, and that would be huge.
That'd be cool.
I'm pretty excited to see what the results are.
Yeah, me too. I believe this is our stop.
The Department of Earth Sciences at the University of New Brunswick is one of the leading geochemical testing facilities in North America for the study of historical artifacts.
Chris?
Hey.
The team has arranged to meet with Dr. Chris McFarland, a professor of geochemistry who specializes in the study of ancient geologic depositions and minerals.
Well, we've got something for you to look at. Just wondering if you could tell us a bit about the testing procedures and whatnot.
Yeah, so we're going to do laser ablation. We want to get a really high precision and accurate lead isotope number.
Okay, and from that lead, you could determine where the lead came from.
And as long as we get enough lead to analyze ratios.
Okay.
Using a series of pulses from a high-powered laser, Dr. McFarland will cut a sample, barely the size of a human hair, from the surface of the cross and vaporize it into an ionized gas. This gas is then superheated and funneled into a device known as a mass spectrometer, which will determine the lead's isotope signature.
Well, I have it with me. Here's the box.
So if we can get it going, get it into the machine.
Okay.
Let's go see.
Appreciate it. The laser ablation, it's kind of like fingerprinting it. And once you have a fingerprint, then you can try to find out where did that fingerprint come from.
Assisting Dr. McFarland is lab technician Brandon Boucher.
So let's have a look. So that is the cross. Yeah, very nice.
How about the corrosive material on it? I mean, does that help date it or not?
I think for us, we're going to avoid it. We don't want any impurities that are possibly going to shift the ratios at all.
I mean, what if this was sitting in the air for hundreds and hundreds of years? Would it get that same corrosion?
You don't get deposition on an object that hasn't been buried for, quite a while.
Oh, that's great news.
This is not, it's not something that was, buried.
You're doing good.
Wasn't buried a week ago or a year ago or even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, should we proceed with mounting this up now?
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Because it's an irregular shape, we have to use a sample holder. This is called our universal holder. All this stuff over here, these are all standards. So when we do isotopic analysis, we always have to reference the measurement to a standard.
To ensure that the data collected is accurate, Dr. McFarland will also test known samples of lead ore, also called standards. This will give the mass spectrometer a baseline to reference when analyzing the lead sample taken from the cross.
So the next step is actually put it in the machine.
Okay.
Not far away, over here. Now, you guys should come and see this.
Okay. All right.
This is the coolest part of the whole day. So this is where all the action happens. So we have to get this guy inside the cell. So now this guy is going to go in here. And as I push it in, you'll actually see... Plunk.
Oh, yeah.
So the magnets grabbed it. So what we need to do is actually go down to the cross, and we need to find an area that has some nice, clean, exposed lead. And here we can also zoom in. So what we're going to do is define about 20 sample locations within that area, and then we'll go and define the standards to populate around them. Okay, so that's our sequence. So let's start the laser. That's the laser pulsing. Each pulse is liberating material from the surface, and it's actually, it's high enough energy that it's making light. So as the material is liberated from the surface with each pulse, the next pulse of the laser's traveling through that, and it's actually ionizing it into its own plasma.
Everybody that we've talked to thinks this is very old, so to me, it brings up a bunch of questions that we don't have answers for right now, but I'm eager to see what kind of results they'll come up with.
Okay, so this is good. So ready to go. This is collecting now. We come over here, and we start the sequence. And now we wait.
Okay.
As Dr. McFarland continues to conduct the laser ablation testing on the lead cross, Jack Begley and metal detection expert Gary Drayton are continuing their search for important clues and possible treasure on Lot 2, the same area where the team uncovered an 18th century British coin just 2 days ago.
Well, it looks like we have our work cut out for us.
Yeah. This is a little higher up in elevation, so there shouldn't be any trash that's washed in here. Whatever's here should be good.
Since lots 1 through 4 really haven't been searched at all by anyone in the past, there's a really good chance that we could find evidence of people who were here looking for something or possibly depositing something.
It's a little bit quiet, Jack. I'm just going to keep zigzagging. I'm hoping we can pick something up in these little valleys.
Let's search over by this boulder, Gary.
Oh, I would imagine there's going to be a depression at the side of it. And that's interesting, you know. These are interesting features, these boulders and depressions. All of these boulders have got some kind of depression next to them. Perhaps there is more underneath the boulder to discover. All right, mate, I will have a little search around here, see if there's anything close to it.
Yeah, I'll get on your... Wait, really? You found something right away?
Well, that's a really nice, sharp signal.
What is it, iron?
Yeah, it's reading iron. Yeah, it's iron. Screaming iron. I don't think it's very deep. Let me see if I can pinpoint it.
Yeah, go for it.
This could be another lucky find. There it is. See? That's exactly why all this moss needs to be taken off these boulders. Yep. Oh. Wow! You look at this. Iron.
Oh, and there's a drill hole.
There's a freaking hole. What has someone been doing here? Definitely, that is man-made. Wow. That is crazy. The heck has someone been doing here?
While exploring Lot 2 on the western side of Oak Island, Jack Begley and metal detection expert Gary Drayton have just unearthed an unusual object. An iron spike embedded in a large stone and with several holes drilled into it.
Why would someone drill into this rock and put metal in there? Definitely, that is man-made.
Do you think that there were two right next to each other?
Well, we don't know how many's in here. I mean, look, Jack, you can see where this has been pounded in. I mean, this wouldn't surprise me if this is a ring bolt. You put a chain round or a rope and you pull things. It's here for moving some other stuff. And what do you haul up? Treasure.
Shortly after their discovery of the money pit in 1795, Daniel McGinnis and his friend John Smith discovered a large iron ring bolt embedded in a boulder on the beach at Smith's Cove. They believed that this rock was part of an ancient pulley system, where heavy cargo was moved on or off sailing ships by means of a heavy chain threaded through the eye of a ring bolt. Could this stone, found on Lot 2, have once been used for such a purpose? And if so, what exactly was being transported and why?
And look, if you look on here, there's like a tab that comes round. And it's obvious that these two holes are connected.
I think that we need to, at this point, just call Rick, get him out here. This is important enough for him to see.
Yeah, because I've got a sneaky suspicion that piece of iron is under there, and who knows what else is under there.
Exactly. All right, I'll get him on the phone. This is a really big find. This is original stuff, and this is exactly what we've been looking for. More indications of original people and their activities.
Hello?
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Jack. What's up?
So, Gary and I found something that we think is really important, and you need to come see.
Whereabouts are you?
In the middle of Lot 2, about halfway between the road and the water.
We're pretty close. I happen to be here with Doug. We'll be right there.
All right, sounds great.
When Jack and Gary called, of course our ears go up, our heads come up. What is it? And if it's enough to make them think they tagged it significant find, obviously we're gonna go look.
Hey guys, this cleared area here, we've been running across big boulders, and this big boulder here gave up a nice surprise.
Really?
Yep. We lifted the moss up, and that's what we saw.
You can see this boulder with a drill hole in it and a piece of iron.
It looks like an old eye bolt. Why would this be in this boulder? And this isn't just an isolated boulder. If you look down here, you can see them in a line. There's a lot of big boulders.
It's certainly unique. I mean, we've never found anything else like this. Are there any other targets?
We might be able to get another signal once that moss is removed and I can get my search coil further down.
This is something I think Laird would call cultural.
Yep. It's an interesting find, there's no doubt about it. You were right to stop because Laird needs to render an opinion.
As part of their treasure trove license, the Oak Island team must first consult with an approved archaeologist before digging any site that is believed to be culturally or historically significant.
Another hole?
Yeah.
For this reason, further exploration of the stone and the area surrounding it will have to wait until team archaeologist Laird Niven can evaluate it.
Well, kudos to both of you. I mean, it's a great find. It's obviously something that we can't explain as of yet. We'll get Laird out here and move on from there.
And it's a new discovery on Oak Island.
Absolutely.
Any day you make a new discovery,
it's
pretty special.
Absolutely. Good job, guys.
While Rick and members of the team wait for Laird's arrival, some 300 miles northwest of Oak Island, in the city of Fredericton,
So this is looking good.
Craig Tester, Peter Fernetti, and Dave Blankenship are at the University of New Brunswick, where Dr. Chris McFarland is about to begin a chemical analysis of the samples taken from the lead cross found at Smith's Cove last year.
So right now, just monitoring the signal that's coming from that standard, and we're now measuring it on the mass spectrometer. Okay, and so now this is cross. It's certainly noisier because it's pure lead. That is a bit different. The black line here is silver. So this does have some silver in it.
Silver? Is it possible that the cross found at Smith's Cove contains trace amounts of this precious metal? As early as the Bronze Age, silver was most commonly found mixed with deposits of lead or copper ore, which were actively mined across the ancient world. The reason for this is simple. Both lead and silver are obtained from the same mineral source, a mineral ore known as galena. Prior to modern advancements in refining practices during the 19th century, most metal alloys would contain trace amounts of other metals from which they were extracted. Could finding traces of silver be proof that the lead cross dates from before the 1800s or even earlier?
I think artisanal lead, which has not been smelted using modern techniques, still has a lot of stuff left in it.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the machine finishing. Everything's done. And so the next step is data reduction.
Okay.
You shut down the torch. So there's our two ratios of interest. There's the galena and there's the cross. We can now compare that to some of the North American deposits.
Okay.
I'll just put it into my spreadsheet over here. There you go. So the cross is not obviously related to North America.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in North America that compares to that.
Yeah, North American-wise.
Not from North America? Could it be that not only the lead, but the cross itself came to Oak Island from somewhere as far away as Europe or the Middle East? And could this news offer further validation that the cross is, in fact, centuries old and of Templar origin?
That's great news, though.
Yeah.
We wanted it to come from Europe.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's where it's pointing.
From my perspective, it's looking good.
I think that's great. Appreciate it.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
Shortly after receiving the results of the laser ablation test conducted on the mysterious lead cross, Craig Tester has called together his partners for a conference call in the Oak Island War Room.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, guys.
Craig. Make it good, Craig.
Okay. So we had the laser ablation done on the lead cross. And so what they did, they ran a test to try to determine what mine this lead might have come from. The test results are very interesting.
Tell us.
Really, they just spit out a tremendous amount of data concerning the isotopes. And the very good news is, they have a very extensive database for North America, and it doesn't match up with anything from North America. Wow. So the lead cross is not from North America.
Well, that's gigantic. That's actually a relief.
That's huge.
Wow.
I mean, look, I was always intrigued from the moment that cross came out of the ground. It looked eerily identical to the carving and dome that we all saw. Well, Peter, Alex saw.
Over here is some of the most well-known carvings at Dome this way.
While visiting a 14th century prison in Dome, France last year, Rick Lagina, along with nephews Alex Lagina and Peter Fernetti, were shown a number of carvings known to have been made by members of the Knights Templar during their years of captivity.
They obviously wanted to keep that symbolism alive.
Incredibly, one of the carvings was eerily similar to the lead cross found at Smith's Cove.
Now with this evidence, if you will, that UNB is telling us it's not North American lead, it certainly doesn't eliminate the possibility that this is indeed a Templar connection.
We haven't eliminated it. This would have killed it. There's another way to say it. This would have killed it if it was North American.
But it didn't.
But it didn't. The initial data is great. Now we take the next step, further define when and where that cross was made.
Give us a really complete understanding of what this artifact can tell us.
Wow, so this thing has some story to tell us yet then. If it was not made or mined in North America, where the heck did it come from? Huh.
Did they give you any insight, Greg, about where we go next?
No, they suggested we look to Europe. There's a lot of different places that might have experts in different areas. So I think we need to just start searching around.
I know for me, it just ramps up our interest in doing the Smith's Cove work. Gary always talks about it. Surely it has friends.
Okay, so let's see where the data leads us.
Let's proceed.
Okay.
See you, Craig. See you, Craig.
See you guys soon.
After receiving the incredible news that the lead found in the cross came from somewhere other than North America, Rick Lagina and archaeologist Laird Niven joined Gary Drayton to inspect the mysterious drilled stone on Lot 2.
Right here, guys.
Okay. I mean, this has been altered, but it's almost like it's impacted like this.
Yeah, because if you look here, there's a mark here.
Yeah.
Where it looks
Started
like they
all.
started.
No, that is strange. It's just unusual to see that pin in there.
That's a unique feature we've never seen anywhere else.
No.
So I guess what you would like to do is peel back the moss and see if we can't see more evidence that compels us to go down the road of, hey, this might be significant.
I'm eager to see what's under that moss.
Well, let's photograph it first.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh, there. Did we bring the snips?
We did.
Yeah.
Right behind it. Oh, yeah, there's more. Yeah, look at that face.
Oh, there you go.
There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. Pull the moss back. And there's a bunch of other drill holes. And, you know, why were they doing that? Why this specific rock? But there's definitely here, 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 here.
And they're all the same diameter as well. Perhaps dating the spikes, they'll be able to tell us when this work went on.
Yeah. That is the one key. The one interesting thing is how old is the metal? And the hope would be that we can give it to Dr. Brousseau and she can give us a date range on it. If it predates the discovery of the money pit, then it's very interesting. And look at that. You see any significance to this? See it?
This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here. Is there a way we can clean that up a little bit?
Yeah, we could try pouring some water on it, see what that does.
Yeah, try it.
It looks like a triangle to me. I mean, it could be chiseled. I know, you know, Masons all had their specific mark.
A carved triangle? Possibly made by Freemasons? For more than 2 centuries, the secretive fraternity of builders known as the Freemasons have left an undeniable mark on the Oak Island mystery. Not only have prominent treasure hunters, including Daniel McGinnis, M.R. Chappell, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt all been members, but well-known Masonic symbols, such as triangles, and even the sacred letter G, representing the great or divine architect, have been found carved on stones all over the island.
I can't think of a single example anywhere on the island where you see this type of rock deformation, so we should look into it further. This may turn out to be something connected to the island and the mystery. I'm curious to see if that really is a carving or even an attempt at a carving. Yeah. Then that makes this significant. Pushes one to, well, what was the purpose of that?
They chose this for some reason, yeah. It's the question we're left with right now.
Yeah, maybe they did this work to leave a message. So it's interesting.
Yes.
As a new day begins on Oak Island,
We're getting ready to set off another set of charges?
Yes.
and the team from Eagle Canada continue their seismic scanning operation at the Money Pit site.
Here it comes. Okay, so just real quick, tie it all together.
Fair enough. Marty Lagina and his nephew Peter Fernetti are about to conduct another investigation at Smith's Cove.
This is the port.
Joining them are geophysicist Mike West and his associate, Andrew Gillis.
That's it? We're functional?
Yeah.
Down the hill.
Yeah, you guys have done some work here.
Yeah. We're going to do a pretty massive excavation down at Smith's Cove. Okay. We're going to put in a cofferdam. Right. Just past Dan's old cofferdam. You can see it already coming into view. We had Gary Drayton do normal metal detecting there. And the EM61, which you're bringing, right?
Yep.
Goes much deeper.
It's basically more of a high-power metal detection unit.
Unlike conventional metal detection devices, the EM61 device is designed to sense metal objects at depths of nearly 20 feet. Equipped with a GPS mechanism, it can pinpoint the position of any metallic target to within centimeters of its exact location below ground.
Let me get you lined out here.
It is the team's hope that the data collected can be used to create a map of potential dig sites for the major excavation planned to happen here this year.
We're going to be excavating about where that little pond is right there.
Yeah.
That's where the U-shaped structure is. What if you went from that metal deal, what if you kind of tried to do this pie piece here first?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
To do this whole area with this would take some time.
That's kind of what we want you to do.
Yeah.
All right, okay, well, you got your marching orders. Rick has some other stuff for me to do, Pete, so I'm gonna skedaddle. But, you know, get what you can, and then when the tide goes out, get more.
Okay.
All right, carry on.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
While Mike West and Andrew Gillis begin their deep scan for metal artifacts at Smith's Cove, Rick Lagina, Craig Tester, and Dave Blankenship travel some 150 miles northwest to the city of St. John, New Brunswick.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm very interested in seeing this technology they're going to apply to provide us with a proper plan for the project in Smith's Cove.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just got to believe we're going to find a lot of things.
They have arranged a meeting at the headquarters of Irving Equipment Limited, the company that for the past 3 years has been chiefly responsible for all of the major drilling operations on Oak Island.
Hey guys.
David.
Welcome.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. How are things?
Good, very good.
Craig, good. Dave, how you doing? So welcome to Irving Equipment.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got a couple tricks up our sleeve we're looking to showcase for you guys today, but hopefully just have a good discussion about Smith's Cove, what you want to do.
Okay.
Perfect. Let's go. Follow me.
This year, in addition to the Money Pit, the Laginas and their partners want to expand the team's excavation efforts to include Smith's Cove, where last year, Rick and Gary Drayton found the mysterious lead cross. Because of its location at the ocean, digging at Smith's Cove will require the team to first construct a massive cofferdam. It will also require a large investment of money, as well as numerous permits and permissions from the government.
If we can get a proper cofferdam in place, I think we can prove up the flood system and which direction it goes and lead us to the Money Pit.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Lift Lab. Here we have with us our engineering folks, as well as some of the folks from our pile driving department.
Okay.
Let's just summarize a little bit about what we talked about.
Sure. From previous discussions, we understand the scope as being that you need a structure that will hold back the water to permit excavation and exploration around the Smith's Cove area. So we also understand that you would like to possibly dig down 10 feet in the Smith's Cove area as well. So we have a proposal here to review with you guys.
Great. In order to really sort of immerse yourselves in the plan that we're presenting here, we're going to talk about this augmented reality technology. It's not full virtual reality. With VR, you're totally blocking out everything around you and you're just looking at a totally virtual environment. What we want to do is be able to take the lift plans that we've designed and then superimpose the equipment, the structure on a digital representation of the island. The benefits of that are that you get that immersive experience without losing sight of what we're really trying to talk about, which is the work site and how what we're planning on putting on the work site fits together.
With applications ranging from the medical to engineering fields, augmented reality is an emerging technology whereby computer-generated sensory data, such as imagery and sound, can alter an individual's perception of actual real-life environments. Put simply, it creates a three-dimensional simulation of the physical world.
Julian, do you have a headset?
Yep, right here.
Using a headset device known as a HoloLens, the digital model can be manipulated by simple hand movements.
What I'm going to do now is load up a hologram. There's cameras on the front of these HoloLens goggles, so you're going to see my output here on the screen. The HoloLens technology uses hand gestures, so you can see it here. It's kind of small scale, so we'll make it a little bit bigger and drag it.
It's amazing.
And I'm going to rotate it around so the cove is facing you guys, so you can see the cove in the front. I'll grab it here and kind of rotate it around for you. So there, you can see, you can't see it in front of you, but I can see it. There's a cove right there on the table for you. That's sort of the starting point. We can also now look at the CAD files that we developed on top of this. So there we are. There's your cranes, again showing the range of the working profile there.
Okay, so to summarize all the discussions on how actually would we install this cofferdam, we would start to construct a road from the Money Pit area all the way right down to the beach. It's a road that's going to be about approximately 500 feet long. Once we get down to the beach area, then we would construct a crane pad. What this crane pad is going to do is going to allow us to crane back and forth as required to drive the sheets from the center point all the way back to the shoreline. We also talked about the old cofferdam that was constructed back in 1970. So you can see it's kind of like a darker shaded area here. That will show you exactly the kind of like the footprint of the old existing structure. And as you can see, we'll be outside of that, so it allows us soil support inside of the cofferdam. You know, we're retaining back a minimum on high tide of 6 feet of water, so the forces are significant for sure.
It definitely gives you a sense of scale because we know how big that crane is. You look at the amount of earth we have to deal with. It's intimidating.
Yeah, it is a big structure.
Certainly the biggest project we've undertaken so far.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's very helpful to see a bird's eye view, literally, of the Smith's Cove work, of the scope of it, the scale of it. Here it is in real time, what we're about to undertake. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Time waits for no one. We have to get this started.
Is there anything else that we need to talk about here, or do you guys think that we're good to go? What do you think?
I think we're good to go.
Good.
I think I just want to affirm to you guys why this project is so important to us on a number of levels. You know, everyone says that the puzzle, the mystery, actually started upon finding the Money Pit in 1795. The truth is, my suspicion is that the original depositors, this is where they started. Because there was something they had that was so valuable that they needed to protect it. And that's why they had to create this. The other thing is, we found this cross, but we believe there are other artifacts in the area where it was found in association with this U-shaped structure. So we'd like to get to the bottom of the importance of Smith's Cove and the work that was done there. And now with your assistance, your help, we think we're on the precipice of unraveling that mystery. Will it find treasure? Will it find answers? You know, maybe write a page into this ever-evolving story? I think it will.
Well, let's seal it on a handshake then, and
I'm old school. Okay. Handshake.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Let's get it done.
Thanks, guys.
Following their trip to Irving Equipment Limited,
Let me give Marty a call.
Yeah.
Craig Tester, Dave Blankenship, and Rick Lagina call Rick's brother Marty to update him on their morning meeting.
Hey, Marty, you there?
Yeah, Craig. What's going on?
We met to Irving's office today.
Okay.
We discussed Smith's Cove, putting the pilings in.
All right.
Rick and I felt confident that they could do the job. So we said, sure, we'll do it with you guys.
Yep.
David agreed as well, right, Dave?
Yep.
I concur. I did see the pictures you sent, and it's exciting to see that picture and see that dike holding back the sea and then being able to work in there in the dry. I'm just hoping that can really happen, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. The excavation at Smith's Cove is going to be the biggest thing that we've done here since we've embarked on this quest. I have some trepidation about it. It's going to be a lot of work.
This is more about eyes and boots on the ground, getting dirty, jumping in, making real finds, real discoveries. So I'm very much looking forward to it. It's finally we're getting our hands dirty again. It is a treasure hunt after all.
Well done, guys. I'm happy with the result. Yes, I'm firmly on board.
Okay.
Release the hounds.
Yeah. Smith's Cove, here we come.
As Rick, Craig, and Dave make their way back to Oak Island, Rick's nephew, Peter Fernetti, along with geophysicist Mike West and his associate Andrew Gillis, continue their search for artifacts at Smith's Cove.
There's certainly something right there.
Right where you are?
Yeah.
Do you know any depth with that, or?
No, but it's a pretty big a response, yeah.
Okay.
It's even like the millivolt reading is even off the scale. We're up in 3,000, 3,400 millivolts. Our baseline's right around 0, and that that's spiking off the charts right there. And I don't see any evidence of any kind of metal on surface.
So there's something really big, deep?
Yeah. This isn't a subtle response.
A large metal object buried deep below the surface at Smith's Cove? Could it be related to the lead cross found here last year?
That's one that I'd certainly take a look at.
Yeah.
We'll create some maps, we'll find these targets, and we can come back at a later date and dig them.
We definitely will.
Although Mike is certain that the EM61 has detected the presence of a significant metal target, the team will have to wait until today's scans can be properly analyzed before they can determine the object's exact GPS location.
Maybe I'll get one more pass.
Then we'll hop to the other side?
And then we'll jump to the other side.
Awesome. Perfect.
The next day,
I think we just go right in here.
Yeah. Rick Lagina and metal detection expert Gary Drayton
Start right here, actually.
Continue their ongoing search for important clues. This time on lot 21.
Well, this is 21, and we've never been in here before. You got the McGinnis Foundation over there. Let's see what we find.
Right. Let's go, Lucky Digger.
Let's go.
Shortly after Daniel McGinnis and two of his friends discovered the money pit in 1795, the young man moved to Oak Island and built a home. Here, he lived for the remainder of his life, farming, raising a family, and searching for treasure. 3 years ago, while visiting the island, 3 of Daniel McGinnis's direct descendants shared an incredible story with Rick, Marty, and the team.
Now, I've been told they found 3 treasure chests. And what is in this box is one of the things that came from that chest.
Along with an amazing object.
Oh my goodness.
That Daniel reportedly found some 30 feet deep in the money pit.
Wow.
Although the remains of Daniel McGinnis's house were removed more than a century ago, the rock foundation remains as a protected historical site. Because of this, Rick and Gary are careful not to disturb any areas within 100 feet of the foundation, in hopes their search of the surrounding ground will yield important information.
It's only reading 3 or 4 inches. I'm getting readings over here as well. Oh, look at that. Is that an oldie?
I don't know.
That looks old. Let's have a look, see if I see any screw threads. Yeah, I can. These are old screws.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got an inch. We need the chest. And that's how it is on Oak Island a lot of times. Once you find 1 or 2 good things, you find a lot of things in the same area. Come on, just one more nice little signal around
Really,
here.
what we need to do is just circle this area
Yeah.
a couple times.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad. Just it. You never ever know what's going to come out your next hole.
What do I always say? Just win, baby. Change your whole day.
Here we go. Still sounding good, still looking good. Oh my gosh! It's another Bobby Dazzler. Look!
While metal detecting on Lot 21,
bloody hell,
Rick Lagina and Gary Drayton have just made an astonishing and potentially historic find.
That's a stone.
It's a brooch.
That's a bloody brooch. Look at that. That's a gem.
That's red, too.
A jeweled brooch found on the western side of Oak Island and nearly a mile from the money pit.
It's heavy. Feel
We did it again.
Feel the weight on that compared to the other one.
That.
Isn't that much heavier?
Could it be related to the one discovered last year on Lot 8, which not only contained a semi-precious jewel, but which might also date as far back as the 16th century?
Gary reached in, and there it is, the brooch. And, you know, it's a holy schmoly moment for Gary.
Wow.
And it is for me, too. And it was hard not to get excited because if it predates searcher activity, it's absolutely an excellent find. Look at that. That's some sort of ornament there, some sort of ornament there.
I mean, a lot of work went into that. That's why I'm thinking this could be special.
I just think that how ornate it is going to tell us something. It's beautiful.
That is unbelievable. The Brooch brothers are back. Looky diggers. Right, you know what? Top pocket find.
Top pocket find. Just make sure you zip it up.
For Rick, Marty, and their team, the discovery of what may be an actual piece of treasure offers a momentous start to their new year on Oak Island. But could it also validate their belief that at some time, perhaps centuries ago, a group of people came here for the purpose of hiding something of incredible value? Like gold and jewels buried by pirates, the lost manuscripts of William Shakespeare, precious religious artifacts taken from the temple of King Solomon. Or could it be something small and modest, like a simple lead cross, which when analyzed could change history, and which was discovered on an area of the island that waits to be explored? Next time on The Curse of Oak Island.
We got 2 brooches and 2 red gemstones.
Yes.
This is pretty amazing.
This is not your ordinary gem. It's super ancient. Now we're cooking.
These artifacts are pushing us back farther in time than I ever thought. Here goes. For the first time in 2 1/4 centuries, we can look underground in the money pit.
We can give you guys some answers.
What are the lighter spots?
I would say it's pure gold.
Holy shamoly.
We have found our first gold on Oak Island.